Hi there, how you doing? You alright? Welcome to On the Sideline. This is Kurt, and today we've got something a little bit different from our last video. We're going to be looking at what has gone wrong at Arsenal. This season they currently stand on 4 wins, 1 draw and 6 losses. 15th in the table of the date of recording this, which is the 9th of December. And yeah, things are not looking very good at the moment for Arsenal. Despite having some big signings in the summer, things are not going too well. So we're just going to have a sit down today. We're going to have a discussion of what's going wrong in terms of their tactics, in terms of their management, in terms of the board. And we can also have a look at how we're going to turn it around for the rest of the season, how Arsenal can look to change or sort of undo what's been done so far and to try and finish. I mean, we're only a quarter way through the season so far, but we need to look at how they can turn things around, because a club as big as Arsenal shouldn't be nowhere near the current state they're in. So we're going to have a look at how they can fix that also. So yeah, let's get into it. So getting started, I think this is going to be a multiple part video. So I'm going to make a few different parts. I'm going to start this first part of talking about the squad and the tactics. And then in the second part, we're going to talk more about the manager, the board, and the finances in terms of transfers also. So yeah, we'll get started with the squad now. So getting started, Mikel Arteta, this is his first full season at Arsenal. He's started at Arsenal December 2019, so he's had about a year now with this squad. This is his first full summer transfer window. I believe he was in control of the January transfer window of 2020. But of course, considering he came into the club in December, there could have been some transfers that were already agreed beforehand. You never really know in the transfer market when deals have been done. So I would say summer 2020 is definitely his first signing where he can really make an imprint on the team and bring in players that he wants to build his philosophy. We can see in terms of tactics. Let's get started with tactics. So Mikel Arteta has been deploying a mix of 4 at the back and 5 at the back. So usually playing 4 at the back, he deploys Tierney at left back and Bellerin at right back, and when playing 5 at the back, Tierney drops into a centre back, and usually Saka, the youngster, is playing left wing back / left midfield, but running up and down. Obviously, Saka's very young, has a lot of energy, so very good at bursting up and down the left side of the pitch. So, looking at this team on paper, you can already see sort of where the issues have started from, because the issue with Arteta is that, and I think Arsenal fans will agree with me here, is that he's looked indecisive in what he wants to use going forward as a formation, which can cause some confusion within the players. So Arteta needs to really decide on a formation he wants to use so the players can understand their role. Now, understanding your role is very, very important, especially when you don't have players that are really going to sort of take a command. They're not going to say, I know what I'm doing, I'm very confident in my ability, I can play different roles. Now, Arteta's come into an Arsenal side which have looked shaky for the last few seasons. They finished 8th last season. Unai Emery had a few highlights. They've won the FA Cup. They've still been winning trophies, which I'm sure the Arsenal fans will be happy with. But I'm sure they'll also agree that it is sort of got to a point now where it's painting over the cracks, where there is really fundamental issues within this Arsenal squad. So we'll start from the back, as Arteta likes to play out from the defence. We'll start from the back. And, this season they've brought in Gabriel, who has been their rock, I would say, at the back this season. He's been a very, very strong centre-back coming from Lille. Looks to be a very, very solid centre-back. He's only 22 years of age, so he's quite young, but he looks to have been very impressive so far this season. He sort of started with David Luiz, who I believe is injured at the moment. Also has been a mix of Mustafi, sometimes Rob Holding, when he's fit, has been playing. Not seeing much from Socrates Papastopoulos. I'm not sure if he's been injured or if he's just been sort of fallen down the ranks in the team. Curiously, they signed William Saliba in 2019, but he was loaned out back last season to Saint Etienne, but I've not seen him play. I believe he's playing for the under-23s at the moment, so I'm not sure if Arteta just doesn't rate him, if he's fallen down the pecking rank at Arsenal, but we've not seen anything from Saliba so far, who's actually very, very hyped up. He was actually more expensive than Gabriel. Gabriel was £23 million, and Saliba was 27 million, but we've not seen any impact from him this season, which was quite surprising. I was sort of expecting this season to start Saliba and Gabriel at the back. But yeah, anyway, so let's have a look at what's gone wrong at the back. So I've done a bit of research and I've worked out the goals that have been conceded this season. Arsenal have conceded, I believe, 13 goals in total, one of the lowest in the Premier League actually. They've not conceded many, which is a good sign, but if you look at the 4 wins, 1 draw and 6 losses they've had so far, there is clearly issues, whether that's, going forward or at the back, but we'll start with looking at the issues at the back. In my personal opinion, there's 3 main things that Arsenal are lacking at the back at the moment. Number 1 is a lack of quality. Now, maybe Arsenal fans will sort of straight away have their backs up. Lack of quality, what do you mean? Our defence is good. I believe there are good points of the defence. I believe that Gabriel is solid. Obviously, he's just come in the summer, so I do believe he's going to build in the future. I do believe he's going to become a better player. But right now, if we look at Arsenal's defence, I see gaps in it. They don't have that second centre-back they really need to be strong. David Luiz, he is old now. He's fallen out of form. He's not solid enough to play at Arsenal. He's still got a mistake in him at his age. As someone of his age and experience, you can't still be having these sloppy mistakes causing errors to goals. Mustafi, we know, has been very, very shaky the last few seasons. I mean, he's not really good enough, to be honest with you. Obviously, you can play him, you can make do with what you got. I know Arteta's making do with what he's got, but he's not really good enough. Rob Holding as well. He looked to be solid a few years ago. He had a bad injury. I think it kept him out for over a season. Come back, he's never quite looked the same. Socrates obviously fallen out of form. So we've got the defenders in central defence. I think they definitely need another centre-back. Whether Saliba will come through the team and be that centre-back, who knows? It could be. But right now, they need more quality in that defence. In terms of wing-backs, Tierney looks very, very solid at left wing-back. I don't have too much bad to say about him. He looks like a solid left-back. The issue, I'm not really sure if he should be deployed as a centre-back in a 5 at the back, because he really brings a lot to the team going forward. Obviously, Saka is also demanding a role at that left wing side, but Tierney looked very good even against Tottenham the other day. Although they lost, there was some good stuff from Tierney. A few good crosses in. He's bumming up and down that left side. He looks very strong, but yeah. Now on the right side, I would say there are more issues. Now Bellerin, this comes in with a lack of quality. Bellerin has been a pretty regular starting player at Arsenal for the last few seasons at right wing back, but there is definitely some issues there. I'm not sure if the issue is that he's not good enough, if he's not at the right standard of play, but there are really issues with Bellerin. He's all these. I know there's been a bit of a joke about foul throws, but he honestly is taking foul throws often. How can a Premier League player not know how to take a throw in? He's also been caught out of position many, many times, leading to goals. So yeah, Bellerin is definitely, maybe they need to improve in that right wing back position. I know Maitland-Niles has sort of been playing a bit of right back, a bit of left back, but I've not seen so much from him this season. But yeah, also Kolasinac, I'm not sure if he's injured, but I've not seen nothing from him. I'm not sure if he'll come back as a centre back in a 5. But yeah, so the issues with the defence. Number 1, lack of quality, as I've just discussed. They definitely need to bulk out that defence. Bring in another big centre-back, Maybe not such a youngster like Gabriel, even though Gabriel is fantastic because he's young, but he already comes in and looks experienced. Maybe bring in a 50 million centre-back that's going to say, you know what, this is the defence. Because coming on to my second point, I believe there's a lack of command. Now, whether Gabriel is going to develop that command in the next few seasons, it's possible. I'm not saying he just doesn't have that ability, but right now there's a real lack of command in terms of no one is really, grabbing that defence by the scruff of their necks and saying, this is your role, get in this position, this is your man, you don't leave him. And I'll get into that, and backing that up, Arsenal have conceded 4 goals this season from counter-attacks, and every single other goal has just been shots in the box. So they've not conceded any goals outside of the box this season. They've not conceded any goals from set pieces, any goals from penalties. It's only been 4 counter-attacks and I believe 9 inside the box. So what I mean by inside the box is just finishes from inside the box. And what that really shows me, I watched all the highlights of Premier League games this season. And by the way, in this video, I'm only talking about Premier League. I've not really looked at Europa League. The teams, you can't really compare the quality. So it's not really worth it to compare the Europa League matches. Now, In terms of command, the defence looks all over the place. You know, they don't know what they should be doing, who they should be marking. They're getting caught out. Many goals are rebounds from keepers where the defenders just are not. They've switched off. They're not in the right place. They're not ready to get to that second ball, get it out. You know, get rid of the danger. They're conceding so many goals from being out of position, not properly marking their opposition, and that is really it mixes with the lack of quality because. You know, if you don't know who you should be marking, where you should be as a defender, then you're not doing your job right. And that links with my third point, which is communication. Yes, there's a lack of command. There's no one to put them in place, but also there's a lack of communication between the players themselves. They're not helping each other. They're not making it clear to one another what they need to be doing. They're just hoping that something's going to, you know, some magic glue is going to pull them together and they're going to be a solid defensive unit. No, and Arteta is really drilling into this team. They need to be playing out from the back. They need to be defensively strong. But they don't have that commanding unit to do that for them. And they don't seem to communicate with each other very well. Now, how can you fix this? You know, how can you fix this? As I mentioned before, you can bring in a big leading centre-back. I don't know. Someone like Skriniar from Inter Milan, I believe is with Tottenham. He looks like a very, very solid centre back. You know, the thing at the moment is that solid centre backs are few and far between. That's the honest truth. There are not, you know, handfuls of fantastic centre backs that Arsenal can just say, yeah, here's 60 million, I want him. There's not that many, you know, and we've seen that. I mean, I honestly believe every Premier League team right now could use another centre-back. Who couldn't use another centre-back? Even Tottenham, they're doing the best of what they can, you know, Alderweireld and Dyer, but they could use a big centre-back to help that team. Every team is showing like cracks in the defence at the moment. Liverpool, Van Dijk's out. Okay, they need another centre-back. But, you know, they're not just on tap to have one. So, you know, they need to really do something with the defence. Now, whether that's improving the communication between the players, whether Gabriel needs to say, okay, I need to be the leader here. I'm 22 years old, but it's not happening with the defence. I need to become a leader. Maybe he can do that over time. But yeah, that's the issues in defence at the moment. I think they really need a bit more quality, someone to really grab them by the scruff of the necks, and they need to improve their communication. Also, I think they need some more confidence, you know? If you look at Tottenham this season, and you look at their defence, if you look at their centre-backs, you know, obviously Højbjerg's dropping into centre-back a bit during matches, but Alderweireld and Dyer, Alderweireld used to be a top centre-back. He's sort of fallen off in terms of quality now, and Dyer is okay, but Mourinho has really instilled into them confidence that they can perform their role. And if you look at them defensively this season, I mean, they've been pretty spot on. I'd say that's the main reason why they're top of the table, because they're allowing big teams to attack them. City, Arsenal, you know, they're allowing teams of good players to attack them, but they're defending well. They're not making mistakes. They're not marking their men properly. And if you look at Arsenal's goals conceded this season, that's what it's been so far, and that's where they really need to improve. But yeah, enough of the defence. Let's move on to the midfield. So looking at the midfield this season, they've had their huge signing, Thomas Partey, who has come from Atletico Madrid for a fee of £45 million. He is a solid box-to-box midfielder. He brings something to the team going forward. He brings something to the team going back. So far this season, he's not looked fully fit. I think he suffered from a few injuries. He was sort of thrown into the Tottenham-Arsenal game, just coming back to full fitness on the weekend, and you can see that he had to literally come to the sideline and say, I need to be taken off. There was a bit of controversy of whether he should have stayed on the pitch. I understand Arsenal fans want him to stay on the pitch. I don't think he fully maybe understands the importance of a North London derby and why you need to have that attitude in North London derby of you need to literally be throwing everything on the line. This game is the most important game of the season. I don't think he's fully grasped that yet, but he looks to be a huge signing and someone that can really develop that midfield. Now, you know, this video is what's gone wrong at Arsenal. So what's gone wrong in the midfield this season at Arsenal, in my opinion, is creativity. You know, Saka, you can class him as a midfielder. He's looked fantastic this season. All credit where credit's due. Saka is like literally the bright light of Arsenal right now. Saka and probably Gabriel. Now, the midfield is lacking creativity. Arsenal have done a good job of getting Dani Ceballos in for another season on loan from Real Madrid. He has some creative qualities, but I don't think you can really play Dani Ceballos in an attacking midfield position and rely on him to be your creative midfielder. I think he plays better in a midfield 2 or 3 as a bit of a Metzala option, you know, as a bit of a sort of like an Ndombele type role. He likes to get on the ball, he likes to move the ball around forward, but he's not that sort of number 10 role that Arsenal are really lacking. Now, obviously, there's big questions around Mesut Ozil. He's still in the squad. He's not been registered. He's getting paid, you know, a really ludicrous amount of money to not even play. Now, obviously, this is an issue between Arteta and him, and Arteta just cut him out of the squad, basically. But Ozil is what Arsenal are crying out for right now. And if they don't want to play Ozil, then they should have got a replacement for Ozil in the summer. Someone else that can play that number 10 position, because Arsenal are playing, you know, either 5 at the back or 4 at the back, but then they're playing Xhaka and Thomas Partey in midfield. Now, it's very defensive, and they don't have that creative sort of... They have creative in the wings. Obviously, Bellerin and Tierney can go forward, but they don't have anything coming from the middle. Now, Dani Ceballos is not starting too many games. He's usually coming off the bench, so they need desperately a number 10 role, and that's what's gone wrong so far. They're lacking that creativity. They're lacking that force of someone that's going to take the ball and drive it forward, who's going to be making those nice, clean, sort of flare passes, you know? Obviously, you've seen Manchester United were lacking that position for a while. They brought in Bruno Fernandes, and my word, has he hit the ground running. He is controlling that team in terms of all of their attack. Almost everything is coming through him. Okay, you know, not everyone's going to find a Bruno Fernandes, someone that's become one of, you know, the best midfielders in the league in a season. No, you're not going to find that. Just, they've been a bit, not lucky, but they've picked the right player for that role, and they really have done a great job. But Arsenal need to find someone who can bring that to the team, bring an attacking threat from midfield, and that's what they really need at the moment. Now, something else I'd like to mention with midfield, they've loaned out this season Matteo Guendouzi and Lucas Torreira, which is quite interesting because the last couple of seasons, they were almost staples of the team. Guendouzi especially, I remember, was starting many matches. He was a first-team player. He looked pretty solid as a box-to-box midfielder. Now, definitely Partey's a sort of massive upgrade on Guendouzi, but Guendouzi's only 22 years of age, and I'm quite surprised these midfielders have already come sort of under... How can I say this? They've sort of already fallen down the pecking order under Arteta. He's obviously not too keen on them if he's loaned them out. Now, Torreira as well looked to be a decent defensive midfielder. I understand they already have quite a plethora of midfielders, but I was quite surprised to see that they've already been dropped down through the team. So, yeah. Now, moving on to the forwards in the team, Arsenal have done things a little bit differently this season to how they usually would, in that Lacazette would be their sole striker before, Aubameyang would play on the left wing, and obviously the right wing has been mixing between, you know, Nicolas Pepe, maybe Martinelli sometimes, because he's... But in this season particularly, obviously Nicolas Pepe came to the club for £72 million in 2019. Now, if we're talking about what's going wrong, in my opinion, that signing's gone wrong already, because Arsenal were in desperate need of some solid players that are going to do a job in their team. They've brought in, you know, a fairly unproven player that had sort of 1.5 good seasons at Lille for £72 million. Now, I'll get onto this more in the finance section in the next video, but £72 million can be spent very well, and I don't believe for one player, and we've seen what Pepe's done since he's been joined. Okay, it's not necessarily as easy when you're making the decision in terms of, we can say in hindsight now, but that was a mistake from the start, if you ask me. That's something that's gone wrong. But their front three this season has changed, and in my opinion, it's changed negatively. So, before we had Lacazette up front, Aubameyang on the left, and a right winger, whoever that may be, of their attackers. They have many different attackers, Reece Nelson sometimes, but he hasn't really fallen to the first squad properly yet. But yeah, this season, they're trying to play Aubameyang up top with Lacazette sort of almost in a Firmino role, but with a striker in front of him. So that they're trying to play him drop back a bit, trying to create a bit more. Basically trying to fill in the gap that Ozil's left. But Lacazette is not really that player. He's not someone that can hold up the ball well. He's quite small. His hold-up play is not great. Honestly, I do believe that Lacazette is more of a finisher. And maybe, I don't know if he wanted to take on this role. I don't know if Arteta's asked him to take on this role, but it's not working. It's really not working. And Aubameyang is not receiving a good service from him. So it's not even working to set up Aubameyang, because this season they've both looked very cold. You know, Aubameyang is a goal scorer, a prolific goal scorer. At Dortmund, he'd done it season after season, goals, goals, goals. Even at Arsenal, he's done it. Goals, goals, goals since he's joined. He's been that 20 20-goal a season player. He's been what they needed in terms of a striker, but this season he looks so off. He's not impressive at all. His finishing doesn't look good. He looks like he's lost his confidence. He needs that partnership they had before. I know that people want Aubameyang to play through the middle, but he plays well on the wing. He scores goals from the wing. He can create a little bit. So why change what's not broken? You know, I don't believe that last season they ever had issues with scoring goals, Arsenal. I mean, everyone knows Aubameyang's lethal. Lacazette is a decent striker. Okay, he's not really, like, they could improve in that position, but if you play him up front and bang on the left, it's good. Now, you know, another question mark this season has been Willian. He's come on a free from Chelsea, and, you know, I'll say free in brackets because from what I understand, they had to pay him a lot of wages to get him from Chelsea on a free. I think between 250 and 300,000 a week. Now, Willian's 32 years old. He's a winger. He's very experienced. He's a good player, but he's not really bringing what you want from an experienced player to Arsenal. He's not bringing someone that you want to fall straight into that position. They know what they need to be doing. He just sort of looks like he's got involved with the rest of the mess of the squad in that he seems confused. He seems to have a slight lack of confidence, and that is causing issues, you know. They don't have a solid right-wing option. Pepe has not fallen into good form yet. Willian is experienced and he's decent, but he's not doing enough. So they need to bulk in that position, and it's a shame because they probably won't be able to bulk in that position now because they've spent 72 million on Pepe. They can't really justify spending another 50 million on a winger. But if they had maybe spent a bit more time and really looked to get a good signing instead of Pepe, it could be a different story. But that's what's gone wrong. Up front there, they're really struggling creatively, and it comes from the midfield, as we spoke before, in terms of missing an Ozil type player, and that's affected them going forward. They're not receiving nowhere near as much service. And sort of to go into a little bit more detail, they have Tierney and Bellerin at wing backs who are really doing a good job. Even Saka, who's sort of playing on the wing a bit, he's very good at delivering crosses. They all are. They can all whip a ball in. They can all create from the wing. But Aubameyang is not that type of player. He's not a target man. He's a poacher. He's a fast player. They're trying to cross balls into him. I believe I read a stat the other day that all the goals that Aubameyang scored at Arsenal, he scored 4 headers. And yet, against Tottenham, they're relentlessly throwing crosses into the box, hoping that someone's going to get on the end of it. No one's going to get on the end of these crosses. They're not that sort of team. So Arteta really needs to look at what's going on. But yeah, I'll get more onto Arteta. We'll get more onto finances and where they could have improved the squad in the next video. This video so far, we've just talked about issues in the actual team itself and what can be improved. So just to sort of conclude the video now, what can be improved with Arsenal? A sense of command and improving their communication at the back, I really believe would be a massive help. I've not spoken about goalkeepers in this video because I believe Leno is a good goalkeeper. I don't really think there's too much to say about him. Obviously, they sold Martinez to Aston Villa, but Martinez wasn't their first goalkeeper. Sorry, they've got 20 million for him. For me, that's a good deal. You know, they're about the same age, him and Leno, so there's no point really having both of them. Now, Leno has been a fantastic goalkeeper. We all know he's a quality goalkeeper. He's he's not the best goalkeeper. He's not the worst goalkeeper in the league by a long shot. He's a solid goalkeeper. You can't really complain too much about him. To replace him would be a bit silly. So yeah, concluding the video, defensively, they need to, I would say, sign one more centre-back. They need to sign a confident centre-back. Confidence is very, very important in this Arsenal team. They need someone to come in and command that defence. They need to improve the communication. In midfield, obviously Thomas Partey, I truly believe, is going to grow into his position and he's going to become a very solid force in their midfield. But they need another 1 or 2 midfielders. Definitely one midfielder, and they need a creative number 10 attacking midfielder to replace the gap that Mesut Ozil's left. They also could use another sort of box-to-box, similar to Partey, like another defensive midfielder, someone really solid, because we've had Xhaka. El Nene's looked good in moments, but they need someone really solid in that team. And up front, I mean, they need to go back to what they had, because they had a good attack before. Put Aubameyang back on that left wing, and sort out your right winger. You know, get a decent, either help Pepe to find confidence and find form, but they need to do something in that right wing position, and they really need to sort out what they're going to do going forward. Even if they could find that number 10 midfielder, they could play 2 up front. They could play Lacazette and Aubameyang up top together, which would work fine. And then you can have Saka on the left and Bellerin on the right. But that's what they need to do, is they really need to sort out their attacking. And it all comes from midfield. Midfield and attack need to gel. And at the moment, there's no gel at all. And that's why they look so lacking creative going forward. So yeah, that's been this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like on the video. Leave a comment and let me know what you guys think is going wrong at Arsenal, what they can do to improve. And yeah, stay tuned for part 2 of this sort of 2-part video. And yeah, please do let me know your feedback below. It's the first time I'm doing a video like this talking about sort of real football. Obviously, I sort of want to go more in depth, but also I don't want to keep these videos too long. And in terms of the video content, let me know what you think, because I'm going to try and do a mix of sort of pictures of what I'm talking about and also Football Manager, just so there's stuff to watch on the screen. If you have any suggestions, please do let me know in the comments below. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. This is On the Sideline. I've been Kurt. And yeah, have a great day. See you soon. Bye-bye.